multiple women recently have come forward accusing you of assault. How do you respond to these serious allegations?
Where are they at right now?
Huh?
Where are they at right now?
I have proof. You were managing Miss Nunu's career.
Not the whole career. Like, that's where people get it wrong, but like there's
you would push her. Like, meaning you would go live with her, you would promote her to go further. You guys became a character together. You guys became... So that was all for clout.
I wouldn't say necessarily clout, but I saw like...
Were you ever truly in a relationship and or had feelings for her? You've criticized other people's parenting, especially Wendy. Do you believe you are an active and present father to be speaking on other people's parenting?
The Trevinos situation just goes from bad to worse and then gets worse than that. If it can even get to, like, imagine rock bottom, right? And then you've got like bedrock, if we're talking Minecraft terms. Mother managed to bury themselves beneath bedrock. Like, they've hit the impossible, but somehow they've managed to get there. It's a really, really weird situation. Now, if you don't know who Ash Trevino is, then get out from under that rock and get yourself on TikTok, because that's where you're going to find out a lot of stuff. But in case you don't know, I have made a couple of videos about it, so you can check back on the channel and you can have a look there. But moving forwards from that, Ash Trevino appeared on Camila Araujo's podcast recently, where she was asked a lot of things, right? It was a really, really interesting podcast, and they spoke about all sorts of things, from her 19-year-old boyfriend, who was allegedly 16 at one point. It was a really weird thing. Santos. They also spoke about Ash Trevino's god-awful parenting, and apparently how Ash Trevino's mother had to actually parent her kids because CPS were involved. They spoke about how Ash Trevino basically is still the worst parent in the world, and how she kind of prioritizes fame over absolutely anything, even the welfare of her children.
Did Santos sleep with you?
So, yes, we have done stuff.
Okay.
Twice.
With a 19-year-old boy?
I didn't know he was 19 at the time.
So this is before you knew?
Yes.
Claimed before you knew?
Literally. Like, we did it twice, and it was literally before Christmas.
Do you have beds?
No.
You think that maybe sometimes she can exploit situations to get views?
I'm gonna be real, yeah.
No, not with them.
She just said yes.
You said send the galaxy to know about my baby girl's health when I was in the hospital.
Oh, that's because, that was like a while back though. I'm sorry to the Mexicans, okay? I will never use that
Hispanic community.
Oh, the Hispanic community. I will never use that word again, or any racial slurs towards y'all.
He's 23,
okay,
Ashley.
but still.
Honestly, sometimes I feel like it's weird for like girls to go for younger guys. It's weird for my mom. She's 36.
Before we get on to the whole podcast with Santos, right, there was one of the key highlights, I suppose you could say, from this whole thing was the whole beds incident, and how Ash Trevino basically doesn't have beds for her kids. Now, many people were like, well, her kids live with their dad. Like, why would Ash Trevino have beds for her kids? Well, fuck me, they're going to visit at some point, right? Like, why wouldn't she have beds for her kids? Like, why is it that the bar is set so low for Ash Trevino that, like, her not having beds for her kids is deemed to be an acceptable thing? Like, people, come on, sort it out, yeah? Let's maintain some standards in society and hold people accountable for dog shit behavior. But anyway, basically there was this whole bedgate. We'll call it bedgate. And Camila within the podcast was like, look, she was talking to the kids, I'm going to buy you beds. I'm going to buy you beds. I'm going to buy you mattresses. I'm going to buy you bedside tables. I'm going to hook you up. Ash Trevino was like, no, you don't need to do that. And then after the podcast came out, Ash Trevino had this to say about buying the beds.
Like right now, she did ask me, did your kids pick out the bed set? I said, I don't want you to buy it. I said, there's too much going on. I don't need you to buy it. I said, they're already saying that I did CC fraud on your card. I don't want nothing to do with that. So that's what I was trying to send her, was the video. That's what I was trying to send her. And why didn't I pay for it? Because she asked to pay for it. She paid for our flights and she paid for our room stay. That's why I didn't pay for it. I was going to do the podcast with her. So yes, I did just tell her that I didn't need her to buy it. I don't want nobody to feel no pity, no sorry for me and my kids. I'm done with the TikTok drama stuff. I don't want nobody pretending they're my friend and then off of whenever I'm not on live, talk about me to other people to get their views up, to make their clout up. I don't want none of that no more. I'm done. If you're not coming with good intentions, don't come. Don't come. I regret getting Max his followers and his views. Hefa too. Hefa wouldn't be over 400K if it wasn't for me. How long did she sit at over 300K? I just hit 400K. So thank you. I really appreciate it, Camilla. I don't want you to buy their bedroom set. Thank you for offering.
Now, unfortunately, for whatever reason, she refused the beds. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a pride thing or whatever, right? But we're going to move on from the whole Ash Trevino podcast, as it was cringely announced that Camilla's next podcast guest was going to be her, I guess, ex-boyfriend, I suppose, Santos. Now, Santos has got a few skeletons in his closet, right? There was alleged, accusations being made against him about domestic abuse and stuff like that in a previous relationship that was asked to him. There were also some allegations made to him about, basically being with Ash Trevino and how he has propelled her career, I suppose, if we can even call this a career. But I guess we have to call it a career because she's making a lot of money off the back of this. But he was asked about, basically his involvement within this, and he stated quite early doors within the podcast that actually him and Ash Trevino were never actually a thing. Apparently they were never really intimate in that kind of capacity. They were never a thing. It was just more for the cameras.
Manager I was doing.
Manager?
Yeah, I was managing her and helping her out, monetize the right way.
Wait, pause. So you were managing Ash or Miss Nunu's career?
Not the whole career. That's where people get it wrong, but there's a
you would push her, meaning you would go live with her, you would promote her to go further. You guys became a character together. You guys became.
I'm best.
So that was all for clout.
I wouldn't say necessarily clout, but I saw
Were you ever truly in a relationship and or had feelings for her?
No.
At all, and
Never.
she knew that.
Yeah, we.
It was
we
a
both agree
very.
with that.
She goes on live and cries over you, though. It was a very emotional thing for her to go
because
through.
she doesn't have friends. All the people around her are my friends.
Like who?
Every single character from Miss Gold all the way to Chairs to freaking Marco, Bree. They wouldn't have met if it weren't for me. I was the one creating these teams,
So this was all a marketing play for you. None of that was true emotional, and there was never intention of you having a relationship with her.
No, business is business.
Another thing, I've got to give it to Camilla, right? She is a very good podcast host, and she asks the questions that everyone wants answered. She asks those hard questions. Now, many people will have a lot to say about Camilla because of her OF background and the Bop House and all the rest of it, but if you put all that to one side and just kind of focus on her standalone with her, podcast, she actually does a fantastic job at asking those, heavy-hitting questions that some people might kind of cower away from. But anyway, that's not me simping for her before people get in the comments and oh, you're just a simp for Camilla. No, I'm not a simp for fucking Camilla. I can appreciate some grilling questioning when I can see it. Anyway, one of the questions that she asked Santos is he was being very vocal and public about a lot of people's parenting, right? And being very critical of parenting. But many people have been well, how can you be in any position, Mr. Santos, to criticize someone else's parenting when you yourself are not actually a very, their parent? You're not exactly there, So basically, she was can you really comment on other people's parenting when you as yourself as a parent are not exactly the fucking best?
You've criticized other people's parenting, especially Wendy. Do you believe you are an active and present father to be speaking on other people's parenting?
First of all, I've never talked bad about Wendy as being a parent. If anything, I've always defended her. I can show you the video because it's still it's up. But
we don't get taught to be parents. Wendy, you're doing great. Don't let anyone tell you anything. All right, well, you heard it here first. He defends Wendy. So
it's just that's the thing that a lot of people that don't do social media, like, and don't get the game, that comments and trolls, like, they
can create a narrative that's not real. Okay.
Now, this kind of next clip comes after the podcast, but it's relevant to the podcast, right? So after the podcast airs and all the rest of it, Camilla goes on her TikTok and stuff on live streams, and people are obviously going to be talking about that podcast because it was huge, right? It's got like well over 2.5 million views. It's gone mental. She stated that interviewing Santos was actually really difficult, especially with the hard-hitting questions, because he was very reluctant to actually respond actively or, you know, straight down the line about any of the allegations that have come against him, especially with, you know, domestic abuse and stuff like this that have happened in previous relationships.
In this specific situation with the essay allegations and things like that, I wanted to come on here and give these women a platform to be able to share their story. I want you guys to know that in the middle of this podcast, my head's jumbled. I have 50 flashcards in front of me. I'm trying to get through everything. I'm trying to get the answers that I want. I didn't feel like Santos was as receptive. It was a hard podcast to do, definitely not as communicative. He didn't really give me a lot, and I felt like I had a lot to get through. But I want to use my platform to give these women a chance to tell their story. Please stay and watch the videos. I hope that you women find justice. I hope that you find peace. As a woman who has been through something like that, I take it very seriously, and my heart goes out to you. Please stay and watch their stories.
Bringing it back to the podcast, here is the moment that she actually asked him about those allegations. Now, obviously, these are some very, very serious allegations to be made, right? They're very damning, and it can really... a lot of people can get triggered by this kind of topic, and it's quite important that if you're asked about a topic like this, you are upfront, you are honest, and you at least, you know, directly tackle the question. Don't skirt around the question, don't make jokes about it, especially when it comes to this kind of, you know, seriousness. Like, domestic abuse is a very, very serious topic. So to make a joke of it would, you know, wouldn't help you in the slightest. But this is how Santos decided that he was going to tackle that question when he was asked.
Multiple women recently have come forward accusing you of assault. How do you respond to these serious allegations?
Where are they at right now?
Huh?
Where are they at right now?
I have proof of this. 1 second.
How can I even fucking explain that shit?
So I'm saying, like, I don't know, why would someone accuse you of that?
Basically, like,
There's this right here.
they're facing lawsuits. Yeah.
Who is this woman?
Okay. That girl is literally a cloud chaser. She's done that in multiple cities.
What's the craziest DM you've ever received?
Oh my gosh.
Are there a lot of them that you're thinking about?
Miss Nunu.
Oh, okay.
Miss Nunu showed me the Nunu. I need water.
On DM? She DM'd you her Nunu. That's bullshit.
Yeah, no,
you're lying.
Didn't DM me, but she definitely, like...
Now, to round this up, right, there was a lot that they spoke about. It was mostly filler stuff and, you know, jovial stuff about Ash Trevino, about how her Nunu smells, because obviously that was a whole thing, right? And he's already stated that apparently they weren't intimate in any way. They weren't actually together. It was just to kind of propel both their careers, I suppose, and to, like, make a name for themselves, even though making a name for themselves in this way was probably the worst way that they could have done it. But each to their own, each to their own. But Santos went on a live stream after this, right, and stated that he never actually wanted to do this podcast, and instead he felt peer pressured into doing it. So, I mean, that's a really weird thing, isn't it? I mean, it was always going to be a follow-up, right? She has Ash Trevino on last week, or about 2 weeks ago now, and then a week later she gets Santos on. It was always going to be in the pipeline, because you can't have Ash Trevino on and then not, especially with all that she said about Santos, and then not have him on to kind of argue his corner. But for him to be like, oh, I was peer pressured into it, I don't know. I think that you definitely would have actively gone on there just to kind of seek a bit of fame.
I get peer pressured so easily. I get that I'm 19 and I have my tattoos from peer pressure. But no, I never got with Ash, okay? But Camila was making me feel like I did. Her blue eyes were getting into my soul. She was just like, did you smell the Nunu? I'm I do get into older nunus, but not stinky older nunus. You know when the podcast come out? I don't know. I really hope we could redo it. If not, I'm just gonna go actually redo the podcast with like someone that lets me do it sober.
So there you go. That is the latest to do with Ash Trevino and, well, more Santos this time. I mean, Ash Trevino was obviously a very hot talking point about the whole situation, but I don't know, man. The guy gives me weird vibes, right? There's just something irking about him, and I find it so weird and so unnerving as well. Whenever I see him talk, I'm like, you're not being honest. But that's just my interpretation of him. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions on this and the podcast clip and everything that we've spoken about thus far down in the comments. What do you guys think? Let me know your thoughts and opinions, and until next time, I'll speak to you later. Peace.